I'm Dylan Pratt with InterLink Engineering. We're the usual hosts of SolidWorks User Group. We do mechanical engineering design. Been around a little over 20 years, and today I am going to give you a quick presentation on some custom machine fixtures, things we recently were doing internally that I thought was kind of cool, and some kind of like modeling tips and tricks along the way of how we accomplish it. It's nothing too crazy, but I think kind of an interesting application. So hopefully you guys think so as well. Um, so this is, as I was alluding to, a real world application for machining. So it's something we put together just recently, kind of a technique we tried, and then we've applied it to a few different types of parts and things like that. Um, I typically use a multi-body modeling approach for it, and then reference some off-the-shelf parts. In this case, our vacuum fixture, which I'll give you a look at here in a second. And yeah, is using a vacuum fixture. So we've been really utilizing that a lot for kind of just infinite possibilities, basically. Um, so let me pull this up, and I think, oh, hold on. I actually have to change how this is. Oh, you know what? I think I know what I have to do. I think I have to exit. Yeah, there we go. So this is going to be mostly kind of a live demo. And we'll circle back to presentations. Um, so this is the actual vacuum fixture we use. I believe our version, there's a few different companies that make vacuum fixtures. I think we're using the Mighty Bite brand. These orange things here are the actual vacuum ports. So basically, you have like some air lines hooked up to this. You vice this into your machine, this or multiples, so you can actually daisy chain them to get different setups and stuff. I believe, if I remember correctly, this is it's like 18 inch. I actually don't remember. Let's see, 15 inch. Sorry, that's a 15-inch square basically. So fit a lot of different stuff on it, and you can set up multiple bays. I think we could fit two, for example, on our VF4 if we want to have different setups. But basically, the goal is to take this and then do some custom fixturing with it. So in this case, let me pull up the parts. Actually, that's the wrong thing. Let me show you the right thing. So what we were doing in this case, sorry, I saved it last in the wrong positions. But anyway, basically we had a custom part to make that after the first set of features, we didn't really have a great way to hold it traditionally on a on a vise or anything, right? But this geometry, we could machine a custom hold. We also have like fixture plates that we could set up where we just have, they have a bunch of bolt holes. I guess kind of not unlike the vacuum plate, but they have a bunch of bolt holes, and we could just try to put in different screws, and basically we can set up different ways of machining it. The main feature for reference, I should mention. Oops, geez, mouse. I feel like it's a little sensitive or something. The main feature we're machining really is we're just adding this lip here, and there is a carrier plate. So I don't actually have that represented, but basically when this was machined in the first stop, just look at the part real quick. Basically, we machined this face, all the features on this face, and then left a small skin basically to it. So it's still got like a frame on it, basically. So we still are we profiled it a little bit, but then I think, yeah, I'm trying to remember actually. Yeah, and then the final bit, it gets cut off basically during this op when we cut off the lip. So it mostly gets profiled and done, but then there's a little bit of a carrier skin basically on it. And then that's going to get cut off, and this profile on the lip is going to get machined away. So anyway, a couple different ways we could do it, but what we found really useful and quick is a nice vacuum hold. So for doing that, what we've done is use a combination of, we actually just kind of save this out as the machine file specifically. So we kind of break it out from the design file, and we just build kind of a vacuum fixture on top of the model. Let me give a better angle here. And so we do a couple things. One of the things we want to do is obviously make it easy to fixture the part. So make the changeover when we're swapping parts very quick. So we want the part to be datumed accurately. So for example, in this case, this part is essentially located by this center feature. That center feature is already cut. We're not doing anything else to this middle. So we're just dropping it down on that feature. It's a snug fit, so it's located well. We don't have to hit the datum on every single part. We know the part's right where we're expecting and located the way we're expecting it to be. And so yeah, we want to locate it, and we want to obviously securely hold it. And so this is like an adapter vacuum plate. So the vacuum is, as I said, is pulling up through these 4 vacuum ports. So what essentially we're doing is transferring the vacuum from those ports to our ports, quote unquote, that are on the vacuum fixture, which are these holes here. So these 5 holes are actually what's going to pull vacuum on our part, and we're passing that through. So we use a gasket down here on this part around the vacuum channels that's holding our fixture. And then the fixture is also bolted in just to locate it and make sure it's in a good spot. And then the fixture is essentially then pulling vacuum through this. So we have to make sure the maybe I'll just hide this part for a second so I can better show this. So these vacuum channels, we have to make sure these holes line up with the vacuum channels, because that's where the actual vacuum is being pulled through. So you have to make sure the holes line up with the vacuum channel. And then aside from that, you just want to make sure your holes are within this vacuum area. So this is the area that's holding vacuum versus the red is the area not holding vacuum. So this is basically one big vacuum face, and we basically want to hold the part as close to the edges as possible, within reason, just to reduce any lift or potential problems as it's cutting. The vacuum fixture is holding it obviously down, and then this feature is really holding it from translating. So you get a pretty good hold. And then we just avoid features like these holes that would otherwise break vacuum, right? That's why we kind of vacuum channel around this. So we just add our own O-rings to that area, those areas as well. It's just O-ring stock for the vacuum in that specific size, and we just go around the holes we need. Pull vacuum through there. We have a small step, you'll notice, and that's because you want the part to still basically you want it to pull vacuum in that middle face, like I was saying, right? But if you don't leave a small step, what will happen is the part, so if this was all just one flat area, your part can actually like kind of block the vacuum. So you're not really getting a hold across a big section. You're really only getting a hold where that hole is, versus like we're getting a hold across a big area because it's the part isn't sucking down past this lip. It's sucking down up to the lip, and then this whole area is sort of vacuum, if that makes sense. Which seems to give us a really nice hold. Yeah, and then that's basically bolted together. We add a label, and then I just realized I don't think I meant to explicitly mention it, but this was all in the effort of also using 3D printing. So we decided this is something we could machine. We talked about machining something similar, but some of the geometry and some of the things we've done things, we wouldn't necessarily do if we were machining, but we decided to test out using this concept for just doing 3D printed fixtures, and have found really good results. So as long as we go thick enough on our walls and our bottom and ceiling, basically. We get a good vacuum hold. We don't get a lot of air leak or anything. We have very little issue. You just have to make sure, it actually prints flat and everything. You want a good quality printer. And then use a good quality material. So we do sometimes need to run these with coolant. So you want to use a material that'll hold up to that long term, for example. So in this case, we usually have been printing out a PETG. That works fine for coolant, at least long term enough for us. Certainly could break down over years or something, but these fixtures don't have to last that long typically for us. We're only doing things for maybe a few weeks. We just don't want it to break down quickly. Yeah, and then we're able to add in, just fixturing label it easy, print it. We usually are able to just print these overnight and, maybe 8 hours or something with all the extra layers and stuff. This is about a 12 by 12 sheet for reference. And then we have vacuum fixtures start cutting away in the morning. That's kind of the overview. Let me go. I forget if there was other features I wanted to try. I think that was it. Let me go back to officially ask you. Any questions? Yeah.
Do these vacuum plate systems require a fairly sizable accumulator?
That's a great question. Yeah. So our air system was struggling at some point. We didn't find that we specifically needed an accumulator, but it will go through a fair bit of air because you do get like a constant airflow. It's not like it sucks vacuum and then stops. But what we ultimately found was the best solution is Mighty Bite happens to sell a vacuum pump with theirs that is a continuous running, so you can run it 24 hours.
Okay.
And that really seemed to be the best solution because we were running just air throughput. And if you were just cutting occasionally, I think that's a totally fine option. But sometimes we might run, in fact, I think we were running a part where the program was 8 hours or something. Our air compressor would have just been running nonstop, to keep up with the vacuum. So, any other questions?
So how much airflow was your system actually trying to use? Was it trying to write down to need a ton of pressure, or does it just need a ton of volume?
That's a good question. It does need a ton of volume. That's all really good question. I don't have the answers offhand. I should have thought to check that. I don't think I could probably, tell you what, how about attached to this video, I include links to the vacuum plate and everything we use.
That's fine.
Okay. Yeah, Mighty Bite vacuum plate though, and you'll see the specs, and I'll also include a link to it on our video.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first workholding, I was trying to think that they have to run that all the time because they use like a similar deal where you hook an airline to it, pulls the vacuum. But I was thinking that they had a valve, they would just once it pulled the vacuum, they'd pull the valve
and then it would run. Yeah, I originally, when we first talked about getting a vacuum fixture, I was under the impression that's partially why we started with air, because I was like, well, I don't think it needs air constantly. It's only like because it does have a built-in valve where it kind of closes. The thing is, you get a little bit of air leak through the O-ring. It doesn't perfectly seal, and so ultimately, it's still kind of constantly pulling, even if it's minimal, and it does still pull enough that it adds up. Yeah. I forget what I want to say we have like I don't want to say something that's just definitely wrong.
Yeah. So are you guys actually taking time to calculate your force that you're holding?
Fair. I typically haven't been bothering because we've just found a pretty good kind of,
Yeah.
By feel, we have a pretty good idea it's going to be fine, but
in this particular one, especially with the block in the center, it's not really.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because a lot of times we're not worried too much about translating. So as long as it's able to
hold
it down. Yeah. And we do have a pressure gauge on the system. So we know if we're getting enough pressure or enough hold. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It wouldn't be a wrong thing to calculate, like how much actual hold are we getting. But yeah, after we've done it a couple of times, we're kind of like, we know pretty good by feel that we're going to be holding enough. And then we also ease into our machining. So sometimes we'll start, a little softer and kind of crank it up a little bit, make sure we don't have any issues. So. Yeah, we are getting 12. I know we're getting 12 PSI on our pressure gauge. So we do have, 12 PSI, or I think it really ends up being closer to like 13, but 13 PSI. So across,
Right, so.
surface area. Yeah.
Yeah, you just pick that.
Yeah. I don't know offhand what this one is, but let's see. Measure it. So we're getting 21, 22 inches, sorry. So, what's that math? I don't know, offhand.
Times 12.
200 and yeah, 240 or something pounds of pressure across that surface area. Actually, probably a little more. Should know the math offhand better. 286 pounds of hold. So pretty good amount of force down. In this case, also, we're just cutting Delrin.
Right.
So we're not putting that much force into it. Yeah.
Sure.
Cheers.
So the top, yeah, that's a good question. The top features, we were using the vacuum, but we weren't using the fixture. So in the case of the top features were done when it was still just a flat piece of plate. So it was just a 3/8 stock, I believe. So it was just,
It's like a 12-inch square.
yeah, 12-inch square, 3/8 stock. Yeah.
Way more so.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have any half done ones to show you guys. Otherwise, I could pull out a sheet. But yeah, so we use the vacuum fixture as well. It's just holding just a big square flat sheet. So in that case, we have 144 inches, of area inch squared, and so across the whole sheet.
So are you just counting on your offset for your Z being good enough that you're getting all the way through your part without cutting into your fixture? Or are you guys actually doing some kind of spacer under the part on top of that?
No, we're not using a spacer, but we do.
Or you,
So Cody could definitely speak better to it,
Right.
but we know we're cutting short by like 50 thou,
okay,
because then we leave a little skin carrier on it so that we never go all the way to the plate. Yeah, we expect that we're going to cut off a skin basically. Yeah. And actually, after in between presentations, I'll go double check that I don't have one in the back at the end. If nothing else, also, if anyone at the end wants to actually see the vacuum and stuff, I can show you, But anyway, yeah, that's kind of a fun little, I thought, real life application for some cool 3D printing fixtures and SolidWorks design, to really get some parts made. Any other questions?
so.
That's not the
What
right.
got from, Mighty Bite, did they give you any guidelines for radiuses on the O-rings or?
That's a fair question. No, really no. Yeah. Their own thing is pretty tight. Obviously, you're running the O-ring in here.
Right.
So we try to go, I think, no smaller than about a 1/4 inch when we're running the O-ring, give or take.
Yeah,
But there's some, I mean, if you have one tight turn, it's not going to kill you, but
right,
definitely want to not go too tight.
right, because
Yeah.
we'll raise the corner and
Yeah. Yeah. So you can see here, like we try to do fairly large sweeps, so we don't have any super aggressive turns. I think everything's like at least around a 1/4 inch. Yeah.